Hello and welcome to Let's Talk with Bishop R.C. Blakes. R.C. is an author, empowerment teacher, and the proud pastor of the New Home Ministries of New Orleans, Louisiana and Houston, Texas. His message circles the globe. His conversational and candid approach to challenging content makes him a relevant voice to all generations. Get ready for a life-changing transformational conversation.
Well, good morning, family, and welcome back to worship. I am so excited today about the word that I have to share with you today because I know that it is going to radically shift your life and the way you think. There cannot really be a transformation of life until there's a renewing of mind. And so when the mind is renewed, it means that the thinking has been challenged and the thinking has been changed. Now, the thing that I have to talk about today is something that is a very popular subject in the kingdom of God and even in the world at large. Everybody wants to know about purpose. How do I live my purpose? How do I know why? How do I learn, rather? How do I tap into, discern why I exist? What are, the things that I should be doing? And I think more importantly, people are asking the question, what should I be accomplishing with my life? Because I think the reality hits all of us at a certain point that life is speeding by and we are not really here forever. Like young people believe that they're here forever. And that they think that when they begin to make fun of old people, not realizing that old for them is just next weekend. That's how brief and fleeting life is. And so when you come into that reality that you're not here forever and that life is passing by, you become most concerned with purpose. And as I have pondered the subject, myself within my own life, wanting to live a life of purpose, not just a life of accomplishments, not just a life of achievements. And there is a difference. There are people who are achieving and accomplishing a lot of things that have absolutely nothing to do with purpose. But if your purpose is to simply achieve, you'll find your life constantly achieving and never fulfilled. So we come to this point where we want to really live our lives on purpose. Like, for instance, Jesus Christ, who only lived physically on this planet for 33 years. But yet he lived a life that was completely filled with purpose. From a little boy, he was saying in the temple, saying to his mother, I must be about my Father's business. And in John 17:4, we hear his words where he says, I have glorified thee on the earth. He's talking to his Father. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. And there I think you have it. We're all trying to figure out, what is that work that God has for me to do? Like right now, I'm living in my purpose. I know exactly why I'm here. Now that evolves and that changes and that grows and that expands. But I know my lane. I know exactly where I'm supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. And everybody's trying to get there to that specific sense of purpose relative to what should I put my hand to? Now, the problem The problem with most people is that we want this specific sense of purpose or instruction about our individual lives. Listen to this very carefully. While we ignore the clear instructions from God about why we exist. In other words, I want this tailor-made sense of who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing, while I ignore the things that God has even put in print relative to why I exist. It's amazing to me how people want to ignore the Creator and then want to figure out, why was I created? You want nothing to do with God. You disregard God and everything pertaining to God. You want nothing to do with the church, nothing to do with the Word, nothing to do with God, the Creator. But then you have this burning desire to figure out, why am I here? Why was I created? You ignore the clear things that God has already revealed while you're searching for the things that relate to you specifically, that only come by revelation, and that revelation only comes by way of fellowship and relationship with the Creator. So we fail the fulfillment of the understood purposes for our being here, while searching for the self-fulfilling aspects. See, I want to know, in other words, listen to this very carefully, and this is going to hit some of you like a ton of bricks. I want to know what's my specific gifting, what's my specific reason for being here, because I really want to be seen. I'm ignoring all of the stuff, and I'm going to give you some of those things right now in just a minute. I'm ignoring all of the stuff relative to man's purpose for existing, but yet I want God to give me understanding of my specific mojo. Let me understand my specific gifting so that I can now impress the world. So really, when you boil it down, a lot of people who are praying for purpose are not really praying for purpose for the sense of glorifying God. They just want to get into their veins that they might glorify themselves. Because you can't say you want a specific revelation of purpose when you're ignoring the clear-cut information about your purpose. The things that God created every man for. General sense of purpose. We ignore that, but then we want God to give us our specific niche. But purpose always starts with God and with what pleases Him. Proverbs 19:21 in the Amplified Version reads like this: many plans are in a man's mind, but it is the Lord's purpose for him that will stand or be carried out. You have all kinds of ideas about what you think you want to do, but ultimately it is the Lord's purpose for you that will be carried out. Now, if you're going to ever really get a clear understanding of God's purpose, a revelation of God's purpose for you, specific purpose for you, you're going to have to, first of all, fulfill the understood purposes for your being. See, the understanding the specifics of my individual purpose as an individual comes by way of a revelation that I receive as I live in harmony with the understood purposes of God. I don't know if I'm making sense, but let me give them to you. Maybe it'll clear it up. In other words, there's some things that God has already revealed to you relative to your purpose that you're ignoring while you're waiting on God to give you these specific details about who you are, what you can do, and what you should be putting your hands to. If you don't understand and if you don't respect the general understood purposes of God for your life, you will never come into a place where God will actually reveal the specific aspects of who you are as an individual. Okay. Number one, here's some of that purpose, that general purpose that most of us ignore while searching for the specifics. Number one, worship God. You were created to worship God. You were, the Creator formed and made you and breathed life into you that you might worship Him. How many of us are searching for this thing, our it factor, and don't worship God? You can't get to it before you stop by worshiping God. This involves recognizing God as Lord and loving Him with everything. Love the Lord with all your heart, all your soul, all of your mind, worshiping God. God created you for the purpose of worshiping Him. But yet I hear you say, oh, I don't want nothing else to do with the church no more. And I don't want nothing else to do with the preachers no more. And you have said nothing about worshiping God. And in a lot of cases, I understand when people say, I don't want anything to do with the church, but that's kind of limited because every church is not the same and every preacher is not the same. But I get it. There are a lot of, shady churches and a lot of shady preachers, but that still has absolutely nothing to do with worshiping God. You use that many times as an excuse because you're in a backslidden condition, and what's really going on is that your heart has been hardened towards God. And so now you use the church and the failures of people in the church as an excuse for you not to really be in the place you're supposed to be in relative to worshiping God. But then you say, God, reveal my purpose. I don't know my purpose. How are you going to know it when you've left your connection to the one who gave you life? The Creator is the one that has the true answers to your questions relative to what is my purpose. I say to you, there's a general purpose for every man's life. Worship God. If I can get you can buy another program, go to another conference, listen to another YouTube and all of that. But to be honest with you, if I can get you to fall on your face and repent for pulling away from God and lay out before God and really reconnect to God in terms of your fellowship, you're going to be amazed at the revelation that's going to come forth in your spirit relative to who you are in Him, because a fundamental purpose for every individual, God made you to worship Him. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verses 13 and 14 says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, worship God, reverence God, keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. There's a general purpose that applies to every man, every woman's life, and that is God has created you to worship Him. So let me ask you a question. What does your worship life look like? There's some of you, as times get better and things become less dangerous in the world, and congregating is not a challenge anymore, There are some of you that have already made up your minds that you're no longer going to attend the assembly. And it's really for no reason other than you've gotten lazy now. And you know, I get it. And for those of you that have made that decision, we're still going to be here to minister to you. But I need you to really think about that. Because your reverence for God, your worship towards God opens the heavens over your life and causes you to understand some things on a personal level. When we give to God what he needs, then God gives to us what we need. See, clarity about why I exist as an individual is a gift that comes from God, and it comes from God through fellowship. And when you're fellowshipping with God, God opens your understanding and he begins to pour out revelation relative to who you are, why you exist. And God even begins to give you strategies as to how to accomplish the thing that he's put to your hands. But you want to get there before you stop here. A fundamental purpose for every individual that exists is to worship God. We're put here to worship God. Number two, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Okay, let's start with here. Worship God. Are you worshiping? Do you revere God? Number two, serve humanity. You see, I'm cutting to the chase on this thing because there are a lot of you, when you talk about purpose, all you're thinking about is profitability. You're thinking about financing or finances, and you're thinking about popularity. You're thinking about branding. Nothing wrong with any of that stuff, but babe, that's way down the list of what's really important. You are put here to worship God and to serve others. If you don't do what you do to serve people, you are outside of God's purpose. God has blessed Lisa and I in recent years with the very work that he assigned to our hands to empower women. Now, when we first started Queenology, which really started off as father-daughter talk, we financed the whole thing for years. I mean, the whole thing. If you go to my YouTube channel, I have more content for free on my YouTube channel than most folk gonna give you when you buy one of their programs. And folk initially said, well, you shouldn't give it away, like you're giving too much away. But you see, in the moment, I wasn't thinking about business aspects. I was thinking about a passion that God put in my heart, a message that God put in my spirit that I simply needed to get out to serve the people God called me to speak to. And it came out of the context of a heart to serve that God said, okay, now I see your motives are right. So now I'm going to breathe on this, and I want you to do this, and I want you to do that, and I want you to do that. And before I knew it, God took the whole situation and turned it into something I never imagined it being, because I was only trying to serve people. When's the last time you served anybody? Who is it that can testify that anything you've done has made a difference in their lives? Or are you one of these church people, these religious church people that seeks to be served? You want to sit on the high seat and you want to cross your legs and you want to give orders, but you don't want to get down in the trenches and work with the team. You don't want to serve. You don't want to touch the least among us. It's one of the things I love so much, even about my wife, is that my wife is not the kind of pastor's wife. We call them first ladies. You know, we slow to use all that stuff, but she's not the kind of pastor's wife that's just going to sit there with a nice little hat and look cute If we serving the homeless, she's gonna be the first one to show up. If they unloading the truck to feed the hungry, she's gonna be the first one to show up and organize it. If they cooking, she's gonna be the first one that'll serve or cook or do whatever. Because it is the purpose of every individual to worship God and to serve humanity. I remember a conversation I had with certain person, and I was talking about serving, and that individual said to me, "I've served enough." I don't hold it against him because I knew it was a statement made out of complete and total ignorance. I didn't hold it against him. "I've served enough. I've been in here for years." Man, you're supposed to serve the rest of your life. You're supposed to be in a position where you're serving humanity. When I'm no longer the pastor, I don't plan on dying out of being the pastor. I plan on finding the next generation of leadership, installing them and being a great member of the church, and being able to serve in ministries and being able to get involved and be a good member and follow the vision of the leader. I plan on being in that position one day to be able to serve, because my purpose, if you cut all of these titles away, I'm a servant. So while you're crying about what is my purpose, who have you served? See, you want God to give you what you need, but you're not giving God or anyone else what they need. God is giving me tremendous revelation relative to my specific, reason for being here. But that comes on the backside of worshiping God and serving humanity. And now God says, okay, now I see. Now I see. It's kind of like Abraham. Now I see. When Abraham offered up Isaac, God said, now I see how much you love me. Then God began to give him what? Specifics about his life. If you look in Matthew chapter 25, verses 33 through 40, it says, "And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come ye, blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was an hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee and hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. You're purposed to serve humanity. And don't tell a lie about I'm serving God and you're not serving people. That's a lie. Whatever you've done for the least, you've done it unto God. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And then thirdly and finally, you're purposed, not only are you purposed to worship God, not only are you purposed to serve humanity, but watch this, you're purposed to live for legacy. And what's a legacy? A legacy is something that it's really twofold in this sense. It's something that is of value, really, hopefully, that you leave behind for others to benefit from. And then it's something that meets you in eternity. Legacy. It's something that edifies the generation coming behind you, and it's something that glorifies the God in eternity that you're going to meet. So you're purposed to live your life in a way that will bless somebody coming behind you and will glorify God who's in your eternity. The good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Well, that's about more than money. There's a lot of people who won't have money to leave to their children, but they would have left a great life, an example of godliness, what it means to be a husband, a father, a wife, so forth and so on. But when you think about your life with all of this search you have for purpose, what are you doing that's going to leave any example for those coming behind you? You know, church folk, let me just go there. I know this is Sunday, but let me just go there. Well, it may be Sunday whenever you're watching this. A lot of y'all can't get your children saved or even concerned about God because they see your hypocrisy. You can't sit at your kitchen table and gossip about everybody in the church Monday through Friday and then say to a child, you know, get on up and come on, let's go to church with me on Sunday, and think they're going to feel good about it. They're looking at your hypocrisy. That's your legacy. Your legacy will be that your children may very well say, prayerfully not, prayerfully the Holy Spirit or somebody will intervene, but right now you're on track to leave a legacy that when you're gone, your children will want nothing to do with the church because of the example that you set in terms of your hypocritical life, your big gossiping mouth. And they're looking at you preaching one thing, living something else. Well, you're purposed to live a life of legacy, that the way you live will set such an example for those coming behind you that they can just walk in your footsteps and get it right. Do you know how many days I wake up and I don't know what to do? I really have no clue what to do. And then I have to just close my eyes and have to go back and think about, well, what would your old man have done? What would your pastor, the prophet, your father, what would he have done? And then think about what that man would have done and then come back into real time and do it like he would have done it. And then I get the same results. That's legacy. That's legacy. What are you living your life for? I know I need to know my purpose. I want to know why I'm here. I want to know what to do. Worship God, serve humanity, and live your life in a way that those coming behind you will have an example of righteousness. And let me read this, and I'm done. In Luke chapter 12, verses 15 through 21, it says, and he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater. I'm just going to hoard all of this stuff. And there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then who shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. You don't have any legacy. You're not leaving anything of value for anyone else to benefit from. And you're not storing up anything in eternity for God to honor. So before we get to all of this other stuff you're thinking about, I want to ask you, what's your worship life looking like? Worship is more than running around a building. We've been out of a building now for over a year and a half. And even when you're in the building, a lot of y'all running around need to sit down. You ain't tithing. Tithing is worship. Giving is worship. How many of y'all sit here every week and get fed the word of God and never sow seed? And then you're going to try to make me believe you really love God. God blesses you over and over again. You never tithe. Well, you said I was your pastor, so let me pastor you. What's your worship life looking like? What's your serving life looking like? What kind of life of legacy are you really living? I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it. I've enjoyed delivering this message. Hope you're not mad with me, but if you are, just think real hard.
We here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you for spending this time with us today. RC and Lisa are always honored to have you with us. Don't forget to reach out to us by visiting our website at www.rcblakes.com. While you're there, you may join our mailing list and receive a free download of The Laws of Manifesting Your Vision by RC Blakes. Also look at all of the online programs by RC. You may find all books written by RC and Lisa. Once again, all of us here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And as we always say, see you at the top.